Hi guys, I'm just doing a quick video to share some more information on progesterone and my understanding of progesterone and how I integrate this into my work. So I will share around the stress hormone, cortisol, and how that affects our progesterone. I'm finding through all my research and studies that predominantly stress is the main cause of disease and particularly menstrual conditions. So when we encounter stress or when we have prolonged stress, we excrete cortisol and adrenaline from our adrenal glands. And so cortisol is the fight and flight hormone. It sends all our energy to our extremities so that we can run, fight, flight, flee, whatever we need to do to get away from that danger. And I personally feel that our physical evolution hasn't caught up with our external evolution, right? So our ancestors, when they encountered stress, that would have been when there was potentially a pack of dingoes in the area, or a saber-toothed tiger, or a tiger or a grizzly bear, or some kind of danger, something that was bigger and stronger than them that could injure them, or a war or another tribe coming in to do something. So the cortisol and adrenaline's released. It gives us extra strength. It puts us more in survival mode so that we can, we're more primal. And so what happens with that is our body prioritizes survival over reproduction. So we're not going to ovulate and menstruate and make a baby when we're in that stress state, right? Our body's pretty clever. It's not going to bring another soul into the world if there's danger around. And I learnt this through 10 years ago when I was on the beginning of my hormonal issue journey with polycystic ovarian syndrome. I was super sensitive. I'm still sensitive in many ways, but I know how to regulate my stress and my hormones through different practices and herbs and nourishment. And stress doesn't affect me like it used to, but 10 years ago, having an argument with my partner, or running late for work, or my alarm going off and pulling me out of a deep sleep was enough to trigger me into that stress response. And once cortisol's been released, it stays in the system for 24 hours. The body's quite intelligent in that way of back where our ancestors were encountering danger from a grizzly bear, that grizzly bear would still be in the area for potentially 24 hours. So we're still on a hypersensitive, hypervigilant, hyper-alert state. So what happens with us modern humans is the cortisol's in our system, and if it continues to stay in our system, if we continue to encounter stress, if our cortisol reaches a level where it can't produce anymore, it then will steal our progesterone, our reproductive hormone, and turn it into more cortisol. Because our body prioritizes survival over reproduction. There's no point making a baby if we're not going to survive. So we have this choice to either be in the rest and digest state where we can reproduce, or we're in a stress state in the fight and flight where we can't reproduce. So this is the foundation of fertility issues for us modern humans. Of course, there is toxicity as well, where we have an accumulation of heavy metals in the system that's been passed down from our great-grandparents to our parents and passed down to us, until we step up and say, hey, I'm going to detox these heavy metals and stop passing them down. And they've also, studies have found increased levels of heavy metals in autistic children, whether they're linked. There's also the MTHFR gene mutation, which I have studied and work with clients regarding this gene mutation, which is super common. If you have this gene mutation, your detox pathways aren't working optimally, and so this can cause pregnancy loss. It's also can be linked to autism as well. So just throwing those in there to give us a wider understanding of why we're encountering fertility issues as modern humans. But the foundation, number one issue I'm seeing is stress. There's also, we have emotional trauma that can trigger physical stress. You know, if we receive an email from our boss that has triggered our lack of self-worth, or some other kind of trauma that's deep-seated that can trigger a stress response, we can release cortisol just from emotional responses from deep-seated trauma, subconscious trauma even. So it's nice to be aware of these things. This post is just about the physical progesterone. Things we can do to enhance progesterone is there's a herb called Vitex, chasteberry. This helps nourish the pituitary gland, which is the gland in charge of our progesterone production. There's also progesterone is released once the egg's released, so it dominates the second half of the menstrual cycle. And progesterone's job to maintain a pregnancy, the progesterone keeps the uterus nice and warm and supple and nourished. So if there's a lack of progesterone, the temperature will drop, the uterus won't be warm enough, and that can be the leading cause of miscarriage, particularly around the 9 to 13 weeks of a pregnancy. 9 to 13 weeks is when the fetus, the placenta starts to form and take over the progesterone production. So there's a bit of this, can't think of the word, but if there's not enough progesterone in our system, then that is the predominant time when a pregnancy loss will take place. So I'll just read out some progesterone effects, the benefits of progesterone and what it does in the system. So it's the biological precursor for estrogen. So progesterone keeps estrogen in check. If we have low progesterone, then our estrogen can go nuts, go wild. And high estrogen can be growth, cysts, excess tummy weight, breast cancer, decreased sex drive, blah, 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 lots of other things. Anyway, estrogen's a good one to look into, actually, because we have so much excessive estrogen in our environment with xenoestrogens, the plastics, the exhaust fumes, the toxicity in our modern lives as well. Estrogen is high in most females, but if our progesterone's at the right level from not being stressed and being nourished, then that keeps our estrogen in check. But I work a lot with my clients with liver detoxification. So when we're detoxing our liver regularly, that helps to keep our estrogen in check as well. So progesterone's role is to hold the uterine lining in place. So if someone's got a shorter cycle, a heavier cycle, a lighter cycle, these can all be experiences from having low progesterone. So it's dominant the day 14, 28 of the menstrual cycle. It maintains secretory endometrium, so a nice, supple and nourished endometrium lining. Protects against fibrocystic breasts and also fibroids. Helps use fat for energy. It's a natural diuretic. It's a natural antidepressant. Facilitates thyroid hormone action. So I had hypothyroidism when I was 21, and stressed, overworking, and lots of emotional trauma that needed to be dealt with. I had polycystic ovarian syndrome and hypothyroidism, so they were connected. And also energetically, we've got the throat chakra and the womb, the heart, the throat and the womb chakras are connected. So energetically they're connected. So normalizes blood clotting, protects against stroke and heart disease, restores libido, normalizes blood sugar levels, normalizes zinc and copper levels, restores proper cell oxygen levels, prevents endometrial cancer, prevents breast cancer, stimulates osteoblasts, natural bone building cells, so helps reverse bone loss, restores normal vascular tone. It's necessary for the survival of the embryo, governs survival and development of brain and baby in gestation. As half the DNA of the fetus is from the father, it keeps reaction phenomena from happening. So it aids in balancing the immune system, which is also a common reason for pregnancy loss. It's great for skin and hair, increases concentration and memory, supports joint health, blah 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 blah. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to mention. So keep your progesterone in balance, eliminate stress from your life. I teach that the first hour of your day determines the rest of your day, so if you can start your day gracefully and slowly with a deep, calm breath and with mindfulness, then we are less likely to encounter stress for the rest of the day. It's just a storm at the moment. I don't know if you can hear that beautiful rain and thunder. Thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully this video has helped you in some way, and feel free to share with any other woman that may be able to help. I share more about this ancient and modern wisdom of the menstrual cycle in my 7-week course, the Shakti Code. It's a journey to menstrual well-being and optimal fertility for any women that have any menstrual complaints or fertility issues. It's a beautiful deep dive and journey for them to partake, and I hope you can join me.